Or you can do 3 hours and then put the rest of Friday. Like, this is flexible. These are guidelines. I'm giving you structure, not confinement and not freedom. With freedom, you end up right over here, and I'll get to it when I can. You know, when you have confinement, you feel like overwhelmed. Oh my goodness, if I don't do this, it's all over. I missed one thing. And no, you can do this. It's about giving yourself structure and then understanding how to adapt if and when things don't go according to plan. Because as a business owner, you have to adapt. That's just what we do. You know, we're problem solvers and we have to adapt to circumstance. Welcome to episode 29 of Everything Entrepreneurship with Kyle Jerome Carter. If you are an ambitious employee, skilled professional, an emerging executive, and you're chasing your dream in between meetings, after work, or before the sun rises, this podcast, this show, this episode is for you. I have something great in store. Quick preview. This is a masterclass. You probably see it from the title and or thumbnail. I am breaking down exactly how you can use, tap into, leverage, and exploit your 5 to 9. But more so than that, your 9 to 5, right? It doesn't matter if Alex Hormoz, Gary Vee, Myron Gold, Tony Robbins, it doesn't matter. The tactics don't mean anything. What matters is you have to do the work. You hear that consistently from them and anybody that's worth their salt, right? And I find that people that are working a job that need that second form of income, they're building a business, a side hustle, whatever it may be, like two things, either the mindset and or the execution to follow through and do the work. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can not only do the work, but you feel more than motivated. You get the momentum to follow through. So that being said, I'm not going to take any more time. I'm just going to get right into it. So when I break down 9 to 5 and 5 to 9, whenever I'm working with somebody one-on-one, they constantly say, hey, you know what, KJC, I'm working this job. I've been working here and I don't have any time to actually focus on my business. I don't have time to build, you know? I get off work at 5, but the day gets crazy. You know, I have to pick up my kids, life be lifing. So many different things come up and I can't necessarily follow through on what I need to do. On top of that, I don't know what I need to do. And if I do know what I need to do, I feel like I have time for everybody else but myself, right? And if that's you, or if you've seen yourself in that situation, that's so common, right? You can show up for your job, you can show up for your employer, you can go above and beyond. But when it comes time to go above and beyond for yourself, you find yourself slacking. I can do this later. It's not a top priority, right? The best thing that you can have when it comes to actually following through on the work you need to do to move forward is clarity. You have to have clarity as to exactly what it is you need to do, and you need to know how to build momentum so that regardless of if you feel good or not, if it's a rainy day, if it's a bad day, if you got a bad text message, whatever it may be, the work still gets done, right? I.e., you want to make this a habit because it's much harder to break a habit than it is to actually start and establish one. So in this, I'm going to actually show you how to exactly how you need to, or how you can break down and allocate your time. What you need to do is a whole different video. What you need to do and when you need to do it, two totally different things. Right now we're doing when you need to do it, right? And a portion of this comes from the workshop that I have for the companies, primarily real estate brokerages that I'm working with. But this is across the board, no matter if you're working $120,000 job, $250,000 job, entry level, 50,000, it doesn't matter. If you're working at least 40 hours, this is for you, right? So let me bring up my screen to do a screen share. When it comes to clarity, if you do have a business of any capacity, you know that you need to know your numbers, right? What do I mean by that? If you have a company and everything is about leads, how many activities do I need to get leads? How many leads do I need to reach out to get appointments? How many appointments do I need in order to convert to a sale, right? And then from that, you can go even deeper. Okay, what activities on what days got me the best quality of leads? Of the leads, what time did I call them? What day of the week did I call them? Of the appointments that showed up, what were the quality of the appointments? And then from that, who converted into clients? Who were the best clients? Knowing your numbers, knowing your, not just the information, but the analytics and everything like that makes it much easier because you know if you're setting yourself up for the next day, the next week, the next month, I need to reach out to 30 people because I know if I reach out to 30 people, I'm going to get at least 6 appointments. Of those 6 appointments, I always know at least 4 people show. If 4 people show, I'm closing at 25%, one person's going to come in, right? That clarity is required to a certain extent to have a smooth running operation, a smooth running business, right? And this, I don't want you to think, okay, you know what, KJC, I just want a little side hustle. I just want to log into this, do an activity, and then boom, make some money, whatever it might be. That's cool, right? I'm not just showing you where you might be right now, but where you're eventually trying to go as well, right? This is high level. This is front to back. But if for any reason you don't need this much information, that's completely fine. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, right? So when I see that most people are trying to work after work, right? People popularize the term 5 to 9. What does that even mean, right? We have 3 levels, and I'm going to go through all 3 of these right here, right? Level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3. And you're going to see progressively exactly not only how they differ, but how much better and how much more momentum you build when you get to level 3. Now, when it comes to level 0, this is the same as just winging it for the most part. You don't have a real opportunity to capture information. You're just going off of feeling. You're going off of motivation, which is fleeting. And you can't really be as productive as you want to be, especially compared to the other levels, as you're going to see in a moment. So when somebody says, I'm going to get work done from 5 to 9, they're basically saying, I'll work on my business when I can. And if you're not blocking out time in any capacity, you're setting yourself up for failure, because life be lifing. Things happen, things come up, unexpected things come, regardless of what your intention is, regardless of how much you have planned out everything. You have to take into consideration that there are different variables. And if you just say that I'm going to, and again, this is the goal, to make a second or third form of income, to become profitable, to have a side hustle or business that's thriving. You can't just, when I can, I'll get to it, right? This is why this is level 0. This doesn't qualify, but this is a bucket that most people fall into. So even if you end up in level 1, which is completely fine, or level 2 or level 3, you're going to see not only the difference, but how much further that you can go. A good example that I like to use for this is if you're planning a date, and it doesn't matter if you're taken, if you're single, whatever it might be. If you and your potential girlfriend or boyfriend, or you and your spouse, whatever it might be, are planning, hey, let's go out on a date this weekend. That's the equivalent of level 0, right? If you say, hey, let's go on a date this weekend after you're done work, let's just say that's level 1, right? If you say, hey, let's go on a date on Friday after you get off work and we're going to go grab some food, we can consider that level 2. If you say, hey, let's go on a date on Friday after work, preferably like 8 o'clock, we're going to go to this restaurant and we're going to grab some food, I'll pick you up. That's an example of level 3. If you're courting somebody, level 2 or level 3 is going to be much more acceptable than, hey, let's go out this weekend. Is that okay? I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know what's happening, anything like that. The level of clarity that you have when you're preparing or planning to do something, not only the better the execution, the better the expectation, but more than likely it's gonna happen better. So that's level 0. What's level 1, right? So level 1, I have my 9 to 5 and I have my 5 to 9. I know for a fact that when I'm off work, I'm gonna get some work done, but I'm not quite sure exactly what that means, right? Now you might be looking at this and this is like, oh, KJC, all you did was add in 9 to 5. How does that differ at all? And when I get over here, it's gonna make a little bit more sense. But right now, this is the equivalent of one step above when I can, but this is more so laying out the actual hours. You know what, from 5 to 9, I'm gonna work on my business in some capacity. Again, this is gonna make a little more sense on the next one. Over here. Level 2, this is a good example to lay out your schedule so that you can, oh, there we go. Level 2, this is a better way to lay out your schedule so that you actually follow through with being able to get some work done, right? So, and again, I'm just going off of a person that works 9 to 5. Obviously, there's much more nuance to this. People work overnights, people work 12 hours, 10 hours, 4 days a week, 3 days a week, the whole gambit, right? But seeing how this is the most common work schedule, this is what it's around. If you want one-on-one help, reach out to me. We can set something up. But anyways, for the average person that works 9 to 5 and gets about 8 hours of sleep, right? From 12 to 8. And what are we doing here? Let me back up. Right here, we're basically taking an audit of our time to really figure out, okay, what does our day look like? And if we have an understanding of what our day looks like, how we execute in the time allocated for us to focus on business or anything that we plan on doing or putting in here is easier to execute, right? So at level 2, we're actually able to put what we're going to do or what we're going to do into these different time frames. So if somebody is sleeping from 12 to 8, obviously they're sleeping. You wake up from 8 o'clock and you're basically getting ready and you're leaving to go to work, right? And then you're working from 9 to 5, and then basically 5 to 9 is grind mode, right? You're going to see when we get to level 3 how that's fine, and you can specifically put, you know what, instead of grinding, I'm going to spend 1 hour at B and N. Shout out Barnes & Nobles, because that's where I did all my grinding when I first started, right? So you can be a little bit more detailed in here, right? And then obviously you don't have to do that for the whole 4 hours. When we get to the actual schedule part, allocated through the days of a week, it's going to make more sense. But then obviously from 9 to 12, you can eat, get ready to go to bed, shower, all the other stuff. But this right here is 10 times better than the person that just says, I'll work on my business when I can. This is better than the person that just has 9 to 5, I'm working, and 5 to 9 laid out, like, okay, cool. I'm off work, I'm going to get some work done. This right here starts to get your brain working to the point that is more clear. I have clarity in what I'm going to do, right? Now, level 3, I'm going to wait until we go over here to get to level 3. Yeah, let me do this. This is what I'm going to do. Don't mind me. I was going to do a whiteboard, actually writing it down. I was going to use my iPad over here. But then I said, I was building this out. I said, you know what? Let me put this on here and I'll just do a screen record real quick so I can show you guys what I'm working with. So level 0. All right, so the person that basically says, I'm going to work on my business when I can, they might have the intention to work Monday through Friday after work on their business. But what actually happens? And this is an example of not only how they can lay their week out, but what actually gets done, right? This is hours per week, and this is level 0, the same as I'll work on my business when I can, right? So this person might have said, I'm going to work Monday through Friday after work, and I'm going to do at least 2 hours a day. And then I'm going to get a couple hours work done on Saturday. And for whatever reason, which is normal, Monday didn't work out. After work, Monday was crazy. A fire came out they had to put out. Cool, things happen, right? Tuesday comes, after work, they're able to get an hour and a half. Not 2 hours, but an hour and a half of work done, right? Wednesday, 2 days in a row, they're super consistent. But instead of 2 hours, instead of an hour and a half, they get half an hour, right? So now they're at 2 hours, right? They missed Thursday, they missed Friday, but you know what? Saturday, they got a little bit of breathing room, 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. Saturday is day to get a lot of errands done. But they were still able to force a little bit of time, and they get half an hour, which some people might say is really cool, But at the end of the day, what does 2.5 hours do for your side hustle or business? If you're watching the podcast, if you're going to the seminars, if you're in these groups and you're just excited about doing something, but it doesn't come to fruition for whatever reason, 2.5 hours is better than 0, but 2.5 hours isn't going to get the job done, especially if you have a need for more money. And again, it doesn't matter if you're working minimum wage, or I know people I've helped out making over 200,000. They still need another form of income because jobs aren't secure anymore, right? So if level 0 is the equivalent of I'll work on my business when I can after work, this is a representation of what that looks like in a week for the schedule. What does level 1 look like? Because I said, as long as you do level 1, level 2, level 3 in any capacity, you're good, right? But level 1 is where we start to diverge from what popular opinion is. This is a little bit of KJC bread and butter as to not only my philosophy, my positioning on how people working a job can get into entrepreneurship more efficiently to become profitable, but this is also what I teach in not only my workshops, but my actual employee to entrepreneur masterclasses that I do every once in a while. Again, if you want more information, reach out to me in the link below. So let's get to level 1, right? This is the person that says, all right, I know I have my 9 to 5 where I can't get work done. And then I have my 5 to 9 where I can get work done. So let's see how you can efficiently break this down. And I've broken this down to say you can, in a healthy way, regardless of your circumstance or life happening, achieve your goal of being a profitable side hustler business owner by allocating either 10, 14, or 24 hours a week, right? And being intentional with it, as you're going to see. In level 0, 2.5 hours isn't going to do anything for you. But level 1, let me show you. This is how we do it. If you're bare minimum, life is crazy, multiple kids, got to be here, got to be there. This is how you allocate your time for level 1, right? So now you might be looking like, why we got a top, we got a bottom, like what's happening here, KJC? Chill out, I'm gonna break it down. If you are already familiar with my methods, I teach you how to use your 9 to 5, not just your 5 to 9. Your workplace is exploiting you, so you should be able to exploit your workplace. The definition of exploit is to derive full benefit from. So I'm not meaning anything malicious, anything backhanded, or anything like that. Not at all. Because I know there's some people that'll take that and run with it. That's not what we do. That's not what I'm teaching. I'm teaching to do this with character and integrity. So let me break down a little bit more of what I mean. All right, before I break down level 1 for this over here, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because this is the level of content that we're coming with, and it's only going to get better from here, right? So when you see this grid over here, what does this mean, KJC? Well, if you've been rocking with me and you've seen some of my past videos, you might have an idea, right? You only need 10 hours in level 1 to allocate towards your side hustler business. And I break down the top and the bottom with during your 9 to 5 and during your 5 to 9, right? But I need to make one thing explicitly clear. You don't work on your business while you are working. As a person that's employed multiple people and have had people while I'm paying them on my time working on their own business, that is not only disrespectful, but it's maddening, right? What I'm breaking down here is how you can work on and benefit yourself for your side hustler business. Not directly saying there's going to be an hour on Monday where you're literally going to, because nobody's watching, work on your business. No, I'm not saying that. What I teach is the scope framework. Again, in the masterclass that I do, Employee to Entrepreneur, I break this down completely. But basically, you can allocate time not just when you're working, but on your way to work and you're on your way home from work. The average person lives maybe like 20, 30 minutes away from their job, a little bit more, a little bit less. Or obviously people work remote, but not many people working remote now compared to before. So let's just take into consideration that you have half an hour to work, you're working 9 to 5, and you have a half hour on the way home, right? With that being said, you can pick the drive in or the drive out, as in like on the way to work or on the way from work to home or wherever you're going after work. You can allocate that time towards benefiting your business, whether it's listening to a podcast, whether you have some calls that you want to make, whether that's just talking to a mentor, whatever it is, right? That could be your 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after. But I would highly suggest that you take your time while you're working to better yourself so you're prepared to work on your business when you're done, right? And again, in the scope framework, I'm not going to go through it all in today's video, but I show you exactly how, while you're working in these 5 different parts of the framework, how you can actually benefit yourself and benefit your business. Because what I found is that's the missing piece when trying to motivate or help people build momentum. It's easier to work in your 5 to 9 if you've already been or feel like you've been working on your business or side hustle during your 9 to 5. And nobody else is teaching this. Your job is one of your biggest assets. Like, you're getting paid to do what you do. And again, it doesn't matter if the side hustle or business that you choose, it doesn't matter if it's adjacent, it doesn't matter if it's completely different, if it's something that you just do and you're starting to put a camera on and try to make money from. Your job is a gold mine, and I break that completely down. Again, if you want more information, click link below. But what I'm getting at is this. If Monday through Friday while you're working, or on your way to work or your way home from work, an hour is allocated towards your business or bettering yourself if you're during working hours. And then 3 days a week, in this instance, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, consecutively, an hour, half an hour, 1 hour, and then you take 2 hours specifically on Saturday. And I always, always, always stress half an hour on Sunday. Sunday is supposed to be a day of rest, a day of relaxation, a day to reboot and get ready for the week. But the half hour that I tell people and that I actually allocate is just 30 minutes to think, reflect, and prepare. So that doesn't mean that you have to actually go out or you have to get on your computer or type something out. No, that's half an hour allocated to just thinking in this overstimulus, over dopamine driven social media world. You need time to just think, to allow the dust to settle, to figure out what you want, your thoughts, actually look at the objective wins that you got over the week and prepare for next week, right? So if we follow this level 1, which is the same as I got my 9 to 5 and 5 to 9, cool. That's 10 hours. 10 hours a week, that's 40 hours a month. You just gave a whole week's worth of what you give to your job to yourself. And 10 hours is nothing to mess with, especially 10 hours that you feel good about, not 10 forced hours, right? So let's look at what level 2 is. Level 2, now this is for the person that has a little bit more time available to themselves, because again, I take into consideration you might have kids, you might have a date, you might do your dates on the weekdays, you might have a lot of different things going on, you might have a second job. That's why you can get the job done with 10 hours. But for the person that's just a little bit more ambitious, is the same way that we're looking at a little bit more clarity over here. Now we can start to really see, okay, how can I allocate my time that I can actually not just be consistent, but how can I follow through? And before we go to number 2 completely, there's nothing wrong with level 1, right? I've seen people thrive in level 1, as in like just 10 hours a week, because 10 hours, 10 focused hours might be better in some instances than 24 hours or even more, because you don't allow yourself to do what you can't do. You don't allow yourself to overwhelm yourself. You literally focus on what needs to get done and you do it. So with that being said, level 2. So this again, we got during your 9 to 5 or commute in, 9 to 5, commute out for the most part. And then you have that 5 to 9 or that time after that for the rest of the night, whatever it might be. Again, half an hour on Sundays, specifically for resting, reflecting, and preparing for the week. And then we have an hour and a half. Now, this is the standard for everybody that I'm literally working one-on-one with. You pick one on the way in or on the way out. Typically, they want to listen to an audiobook or a specific podcast for that side hustle or business. Cool, that's your half hour. And then an hour is intentionally working on that scope framework in which you better yourself, which benefits your business, which builds momentum for when you get off of work. In this instance, we got 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're putting in a little bit more time. You see half an hour, 2 hours, 2 hours, half an hour. Now, I'm all over the place with frameworks. My reset framework, my reset ritual framework is how you actually execute in your 5 to 9, right? So you got the scope framework for your 9 to 5, and you got the reset ritual framework for your 5 to 9. Again, I'm going to go super in depth in that in another video, another episode. But for right now, half an hour can be reading material, right? I remember back in the day when I was living this, I built this because I lived it, right? I literally would get off work and I would go to Barnes & Noble's for 2 hours. And after that, I would go to the gym and I'd work out. And some days, Tuesdays and Thursdays were allocated when I'm at Barnes & Noble's just for reading upon business, reading on psychology, reading on marketing, reading on these different topics around my side hustler business. And you can do that too with a half an hour, because in half an hour can be done, or in half an hour can be used to get work done. But at the same time, it might be a little bit more beneficial for you to use those 2 hour blocks to just knock out all the work that needs to get done. And maybe a half hour in the first part of the week on Monday, because Monday gets a little crazy. Monday's a little stressful for people. That's when you might just read up on something, read a couple articles, have them already set out, read a couple articles, read a book or a couple chapters in a book. And then on Friday, somebody might, hey, we're going to happy hour doing this, we're doing that. You can still get your 30 minutes in. How are you going to do that? It's not about just using all the time consuming content. Like I said, on the way into work or on the way out from work to home or to your next destination, you could be listening to an audio book or a podcast, the Everything Entrepreneurship podcast with Kyle Jerome Carter. But you can use this time wisely. The same way that we went from literally like, I'll work on my business when I can, to a very clear 9 to 5 and 5 to 9, to a very clear, this is my schedule. Sleeping, then I'm waking up, I'm on my way to work, I'm working, I'm grinding, I'm at Barnes & Nobles, I'm eating, I'm going to bed. And obviously, it's much more nuanced than this. There's much more that you can do in here. But this is an example level 2. Right here, we have 14 hours allocated for your business or your side hustle. And then we get to level 3, right? Level 3 is when we actually have what we call a schedule. You know, I'm gonna remove this, and then I'm gonna give a little bit more color around it, right? So this is an example of what level 3 looks like, right? You have 12 to 7 instead of 12 to 8, because at this point you're going to be a little bit more mindful with your mornings, right? At this point, you're sleeping from 12 to 7. From 7 to 8, you're waking up, maybe writing your goals, meditating, working out, etc. I'm writing all these to show you what can be done within this time. I'm not saying all of this needs to be done in this time, if that makes sense, right? You could really get some work done in that 7 to 8 or that hour before you get ready to go to work, technically. From 8 to 9, same thing. Shower, get dressed, eat, drive to work, listen to a podcast, make some calls, whatever it might be during that time, right? Obviously, that half hour before or on the way to work, again, average 20, 30 minutes, person lives from where they are to their job. That could be in this time because you start working or you clock in or you get to your job at 9 o'clock, right? In this instance, and technically, what am I doing? Come on, KJC. I should have scope in here. Excuse me, guys. I got all these commas. That's crazy. I did that earlier. O-P-E. Right? And I technically should have the reset ritual, but it's fine. But we're a little bit more detailed. So that 5 to 6, you can decompress. You can drive home. You can listen to an audiobook. You can check in on family. You can go to the gym. You can get a snack, etc. Like this is the time, the in-between time, that transition time, that a lot of stuff gets lost, and a lot of the stuff that is for you gets put on the back burner because it's not as much as a priority. It's not as much as a priority if you don't make it a priority. And you make it a priority by making time for it, blocking it out on your schedule, right? And then when we get to that 6 to 9, because again, 5 to 9, from 5 o'clock or when you're done work until 9 o'clock, and it doesn't have to be 9 o'clock specifically, a really good person is going to put times on this. You got focus work. You can go see family. You can go see friends. You can pick up your kids. You have time with family. You can grab food. You can cook food. You can shower, etc. Whatever it might be. And then obviously from 9 to 12, you have shower, read, doom scroll, go on social media, go to bed, etc. Whatever else you do at the end of the night. It's not about making a schedule that cannot be broken. It's about having a clear path to what you want to do, right? Before I show you how the hours, actually, no, I'm going to show you how the hours are. You know, no. Before I show you exactly how these hours are allocated, no, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how the hours are allocated for 24 hours, because all you need is 24 hours to become a profitable business owner. 24 hours a week, not 24-hour day. That's a little crazy. I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to break down the few caveats that you need to remember when you're approaching this. So this is like standard for anybody that's on a real high level that has the time. We'll get into the nuances in a moment. So we got obviously half an hour on Sunday, hour and a half across the board, Monday through Friday. You're going to work, it makes sense. You're driving in every day, or you're driving from work to home or to your next destination. You're working every day. From your destination, you're working every day. So you have the hour that you can put into the scope framework while you're working to benefit you, to work on yourself, to benefit your side hustler business, right? In this instance, this is the person that's going every single day. A little example as to how I used to do it back in the day. Like I said, Monday through Friday, from work, Barnes Noble, gym. And we got hour and a half, 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours, hour and a half, 4 hours on Saturday. And that gives you 24, right? You don't need 9 to 5, which is 4 hours every single day. Monday, 4 hours after work. Tuesday, 4 hours after work. Wednesday, 4 hours after work. Thursday, 4 hours after work. Friday, 4 hours after work. You have a life. Things happen. And you can move these times depending on if something happens, right? So for level 2, you have all the intention in the world to give 2 hours on Tuesday. If something comes up, you can move that to Wednesday, right? If something happens on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, you can do 4.5 hours if you really want to on Thursday, or you can do 3 hours and then put the rest of Friday. Like, this is flexible. These are guidelines. I'm giving you structure, not confinement and not freedom. With freedom, you end up right over here, and I'll get to it when I can. You know, when you have confinement, you feel like overwhelmed. Oh my goodness, if I don't do this, it's all over. I missed one thing. And no, you can do this. It's about giving yourself structure and then understanding how to adapt if and when things don't go according to plan. Because as a business owner, you have to adapt. That's just what we do. You know, we're problem solvers and we have to adapt to circumstance. And then you got to make your own circumstance. So, but there are a couple things I want you to keep in mind, because even though I have here, we don't have emergencies. It does, like, there's so many times, let me go back to here. There we go. There's so many times that you plan to get something done and life happens. Life be lifing. You get into an argument with your significant other, your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it might be, and your mood has just changed and you feel horrible. You don't want to work anymore. You might want to do the opposite, do something bad, whatever it might be. That happens, you know? You might have a family member that needs you, maybe not for an emergency, but they rely on you. They say, hey, KJC, I need your help. Can you come over here? And if I had my whole night planned, got off work, I'm supposed to go to Barnes Noble in the gym. I got my gym clothes, but I now got to drive an hour to go help you. It's family. You're there for them, you do it. Or you don't. And then you deal with what happens next, right? Adaptability. But let me touch on these 4 things that I wrote down for you guys. So this first thing is not for me, right? If you've ever heard somebody say, be the actor, be the main character, be the actor of your life, right? And that's how you can win and changing your life and doing what you want to do. I think that's cool to an extent. But when I heard somebody say, no, you know what? You might want to be the director, because the director plots out and plans out exactly what's going to happen and takes into consideration, if this happens, this happens. You can become a director of your life by laying out what you need to do, right? And then adjusting accordingly, taking into consideration that life happens, stuff happens, emergency happens, unforeseen things happen, and you move around it, right? And with that being said, another quote that is not mine, but somebody said, your future determines your present and your present determines your past. And I'll say it again, your future determines your present and your present determines your past. And when I heard that hit so deep, because it's so true. What you decide you're going after for your future, this is my goal, determines what I need to do today. And what I actually do today becomes my past, regardless of how I feel. What did you do, right? What does that say? Putting it, the third one, putting in the work to achieve your goals is the only proof that you have as to whether you truly want something or not. Did you do it? That becomes your past. Your past becomes if you followed through or if you didn't, if you were just all talk, right? You need to, and again, this next point is for the people that really struggle. They're like, I'm going to give up. I can't do this. They have a lot of doubt. Or they're just not in a good environment that's conducive for propelling them forward, past the mental strength to do it themselves. My mentor would always say to yourself each day, I will do it today. And if I need to, I can quit tomorrow. So that means today, I will do it today. Whatever it is, I will do it. And if need be, tomorrow is when I'll quit. And then when tomorrow comes, say the same thing. I will do it today. And if I need to, I will quit tomorrow. Always say that you'll quit tomorrow, but don't quit today. Just get through today, because only today matters. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed, and your past was determined by your present. So let's see what you're going to do. You can quit tomorrow, but you can't quit today. Just keep saying that each day, right? I spoke on this briefly, but adaptability is key. You have to be willing to and understand how you're going to adapt to what happens, you know? Like, there's so many things that come up. You know this more than anybody, but you have to adapt. You can't get too happy, too sad, or too depressed. You're going to get into a rut, and you don't need that. What you do need to do is to pick yourself up and get to it, because you can. And if nobody else believes in you, because not everybody does have that solid network of support, I believe in you. You're watching this video this far, you're invested in yourself. So let's follow through so you can actually make it happen, right? And then lastly, when it comes to getting clarity on your time, blocking out time for different activities and stuff like that, you need to know your perception of time versus the time it takes you to execute a task. What does that mean? If I'm allocating 30 minutes to do something, historically, or if I've never done it before, is it going to take 45 minutes? Is it going to take an hour? Should I do 45 minutes or an hour? Should I do worst case an hour? And then the extra time will be working on the previous thing or preparing for the next thing. You don't need to overload yourself with 100 different things to do. And you don't need to say, I'm going to do this in 15 minutes. I'm going to do this 15 minutes. I'll do this 15 minutes. I did 4 things in an hour. And then when time comes, you do one thing and then you're depressed. Have an understanding of the time that you allocate to something and the time it has taken you, or it realistically will take you to execute on it, you know? Especially if you're one of those super creative people that gets into something, they just keep going and going and going. You might want to allocate more time into something. That's not something many people talk about. But this right here is a solid way that you can grasp how to plan out your 5 to 9. And I didn't go in depth here as to the scope framework, but how you can tame, how you can leverage, how you can tap into that gold mine of a 9 to 5. I have so many videos that I want to do. I have content, I have a series that I'm doing for you guys, but all in due time. I'm going to start up my the live webinar, the Employee to Entrepreneur Masterclass, because everybody that did go through it said it was very valuable, you know? And whereas I was putting my thoughts as to what has helped me in the different individual aspects that has helped other people that have come to me, I said put everything into one thing. And I'm going to take it from employee to entrepreneur. I don't know if I'm going to have that this Wednesday, next Wednesday, the Wednesday after that, but I do want to keep this top of mind for you guys and not only talk about it, but show you how it can be done. So that being said, this podcast episode is truly a masterclass to tell you how you can allocate your time. This, again, isn't what to do in that time. If you want that video, let me know. But yeah, I'll end it here. I'm excited. I've been working on this video. I'm only going up, and I'm going to hold myself to that. I'm excited for that. Life be life, and I'm over here breaking down. I got pimples and stuff. Oh, man. The show doesn't stop. You got to adapt, you know? It's just the way it is right now. But with that being said, I'm not going to take any more of your time. If you made it this far, thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. That means you truly care about bettering yourself and understanding how you can leverage, like really leverage your 5 to 9. So with that being said, make sure you hit that subscribe button, not just the like, hit the subscribe button. I want you to be here for this content. I want you to have a understanding that alert's coming out, and I don't want you to miss it. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I hope you have a good rest of your day. This typically comes out on Monday, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Have a good one.